In the coming days, we're going to join with our friends in Jordan and others in providing airdrops of additional food and supplies into Ukraine and seek to continue to open up other avenues in Ukraine, including the possibility of a Marine corridor to deliver large amounts of humanitarian assistance.
Friday. That was Joe Biden on Friday, confusing Ukraine and Gaza, talking about dropping relief supplies. In order to do the same thing with Ukraine and Russia that he's doing with Gaza and Israel, he should be bringing in relief supplies to Russia. Joe Biden is fueling both sides of the Israel-Hamas conflict. And in many ways, we and he are fueling both sides of the Russia-Ukraine conflict as well. I assume we're fueling both sides of the Sudan conflict and the slavery there as well. That's what I would expect. But that was Joe Biden dropping relief supplies into Ukraine when he meant Gaza. A couple of weeks ago, he suggested that the president of Mexico was al-Sisi, who's the president of Egypt. Joe Biden is not up to the task of being president of the United States by any stretch of the imagination. Confusing Gaza and Ukraine. And this is a non-story in the American news media because our news media is not a legitimate news media. Front groups for the Democrat Party, one after another. Really remarkable stuff. Gotta say. Joe Biden, not a bright man, not a smart man, not a serious man, not a good man. Not a chance. What a nitwit. Just extraordinary. Fox News wrote the story up. Biden appears to mix up Ukraine and Gaza in meeting with Italian Prime Minister. The special counsel's report last month said the president has a poor memory. That was generous understatement, too. Isn't that amazing? President Biden appeared to mix up Ukraine and Gaza while talking about the war-torn regions in a bilateral Oval Office meeting with Italy's prime minister on Friday. Today, he said, we're going to discuss the Middle East and yesterday's tragic and alarming event in North Gaza, trying to get humanitarian in there. Not humanitarian aid, just trying to get humanitarian in there. And the loss of life is heartbreaking. That's because some Palestinians ran over a bunch of their fellow Palestinians with vehicles and crushed them to death and killed them. They did it so they could steal the aid that was being delivered. They had rifles, too, but first they just ran everybody over. The president said, referring to the dozens killed there on Thursday when humanitarian aid trucks came under fire. He had previously mentioned passing legislation in support of Ukraine. He continued on Gaza. People are so desperate that innocent people got caught in a terrible war to feed their families. They got, again, that's a nonsensical sentence. People are so desperate that innocent people got caught in a terrible war. Yeah, that's ongoing. To feed their families. That's just the relief. And you saw the response when they tried to get aid. Yeah, there was violence and killing, which is perfectly predictable. And we need to do more. Should drop MOABs on the region and see how that works out. And the United States will do more in the coming days, he said. We're going to join with our friends in Jordan and others in providing airdrops of additional food. They dropped C-130s, went in there with pallets of food. They dropped like 35,000 meals ready to eat. And they're telling us that more than 1 million people are starving. So how far does 35,000 meals ready to eat go? And then the gun-toting lunatics run their own neighbors over and crush them to death in order to steal whatever aid comes in. So that's no problem, right? That's a no problem. Pretty amazing stuff. The Washington Times also had the story. The Washington Post did not, because they've got another narrative altogether. But the Washington Times did the story. Biden's latest confusion mixes up Ukraine and Gaza. And the Washington Times, as usual, does a great job with the story. The Democrats, however, that's the rest of the news media, the Democrat news media. They covered up. In fact, there is a comically ridiculous story in the Washington Post over the weekend about how brilliant Joe Biden is and how he really keeps everybody on their toes. And it's a real challenge to be around Joe Biden because he's so smart and so quick. And never mind the fact that he curses people out with all kinds of vulgarities and screams and shouts and yells behind closed doors at his own staffers who are terrified to be around him because he's so mean-spirited and nasty and vulgar, a lot of vulgarities. Because, when you're a Democrat, all of this is just fine, perfectly normal. Perfectly normal. And you've got the media there. It's what information dominance is all about. Yes, sir. Just amazing. Yeah, the Washington Post, pretty extraordinary one. It was the private chats and chance encounters that shaped Joe Biden's thinking after conversations with his grandchildren. Not all of his grandchildren, because he doesn't acknowledge all of his grandchildren, and he constantly loses track of how many grandchildren he has, and he gives different numbers all the time. Fellow churchgoers, he goes to church, and Delaware neighbors. The president brings their worries to the Oval Office. And this is just a ridiculous embarrassment of a story in the Washington Post. I guess it was in Saturday by Tyler Pager. And Tyler Pager couldn't be a bigger fluffer if, he put on women's clothing and went to the Simi Valley. Is it Simi Valley? Which valley is it? I always forget which valley it is where the Democrats make all their child porn or whatever it is. But yeah, this story goes on and on about how bright he is and how nobody can keep up with his intellectual brain power. This story goes on and on. It's truly extraordinary. What a sham this is. But when you're a Democrat, that's what you can expect from your friends in the Washington Post and the New York Times and at CNN and on and on. Just amazing, amazing stuff. You're Democrats. That's why I say it's good to be a Democrat. It's not really good to be a Democrat because you have to be a cross-dressing mental case and various other things. But let's go to the rest because we've got a lot more. The Washington Post, what a great thinker, what a great mind he has. Nobody can keep up with his brain power. Oh, here's another one. This is a great one. New York Post has the story. The New York Times does not. Hunter Biden's Chinese legal client threatens to sue unless first son pays back $1 million. Miranda Devine, who got everything right about the Hunter Biden laptop, and our CIA lied to us about it and deceived us because they've got a communist named John Brennan in their midst, and Barack Obama made him the boss. Hunter Biden was paid $1 million by Chinese firm CEFC to act as attorney for its employee, Dr. Patrick Ho. Dr. Patrick Ho. Hunter's got a lot of hoes in his life. But now Ho is threatening to sue the first son within 7 days unless he gets his money back because he claims Hunter did no legal work for him. He got paid $1 million, and he did by a Chinese communist affiliated firm, CEFC, an energy firm. Ho sent a legal letter to Hunter last week requesting that their attorney-client agreement be terminated immediately and threatened legal action unless he received a detailed list of services provided by Hunter and reimbursement for the unused funds as laid out in the 2017 contract. So how long is that now? That's 7 years ago. And he got $1 million and didn't do anything for it. And the Washington Post is fine with that. Nothing to see here from communist China. Ho's letter sent by Hong Kong law firm Huen and Partners to Hunter's attorney Abby Lowell in Washington, D.C., set a deadline of 7 days for the repayment of any remaining funds. Patrick says he paid him and that Hunter never did anything for him, a friend of Ho told the New York Post, and that, according to the contract, the money should be reimbursed. I think so, too. The $1 million legal retainer was wired from CEFC in China to CEFC Hong Kong HSBC account. That's a bank there. And then on November 2nd of 2017, the American bank account of Hudson West III, the firm Hunter co-founded with CEFC. He co-founded a firm with CEFC. That's a Chinese energy firm. And then to Hunter's private firm, Owasco. How many different firms did they have for doing nothing? According to his California tax indictment, Ho was arrested in New York in November of 2017 as he got off a plane from Hong Kong. You know, everybody, if you do business with Hunter Biden, you're likely to end up in handcuffs, it looks like. Everybody except Hunter, of course. The former Hong Kong Home Affairs Secretary was convicted in 2019 of paying bribes to the presidents of Chad and Uganda. He was paying bribes to the president of the United States, $1 million to his son, who didn't do anything for the money. Just like Hunter Biden didn't do anything for the $1 million a year that he got for sitting on the board of Burisma, the Ukrainian natural gas company. Hunter Biden apparently went to one meeting of the board that they paid for him to go to in Monte Carlo. Right? And that's it. That's it. And his other buddy who defrauded the Indian tribe of $60 million. Yeah, Devin Archer. He's been convicted of defrauding an Indian tribe. And I think it's no big deal. It's fine. His buddy is the son of the President of the United States. It's pretty remarkable stuff. So Patrick Ho was sentenced to 3 years in jail before being deported to Hong Kong. I got to tell you, according to Ho, Hunter Biden pocketed the $1 million but did no legal work for him, other than call another attorney, Edward Kim, and turn up half an hour late to a meeting with Ho and Kim at the Manhattan Correctional Center the morning of Ho's arrest. It's good to be a Democrat, huh? So he wants his money, and I think it sounds like he deserves it. Hunter did no work at all. Just another $1 million no-show job, which he thinks is no big deal because, you know, he's got at least one more of those and probably much more than just one more. Pay back the $1 million, Hunter. You got 7 days. Defrauding people. And again, this guy is in trouble for bribing the presidents of Chad and Uganda, but he's not in trouble for bribing the family of the President of the United States. Well, he went to jail on trumped-up charges because the Biden family, you know how that goes. Amazing stuff. I bet he'd like a nice, juicy steak, though, wouldn't he? You know, the Omaha Steaks semi-annual sale is here right now. You get 50% off across the entire Omaha Steaks website. Mouth-watering favorites, just delicious. All you have to do is go to omahasteaks.com and shop the semi-annual sale where you're going to get to load up on all the delicious flavors that you crave, and you get them at half the price. And when you use my promo code PLANTE, P-L-A-N-T-E, you'd use it at checkout, you get an extra $30 off your order. Save big on delicious, tender, juicy steaks, big burgers, so much delicious food. With Omaha Steaks, the possibilities are endless. Endless flavor, endless value. Every purchase is backed by their unconditional money-back guarantee. Just go to omahasteaks.com, shop their semi-annual sale today. Don't forget to use the promo code PLANT at checkout to get an extra $30 off your order, already 50% off. But hurry, because this deal isn't going to last forever. Kickstart your spring grilling today. That's omahasteaks.com. The code is PLANT at checkout. A minimum purchase and restrictions may apply. Visit omahasteaks.com for all the details. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's good to be a member. What would Joe Biden say? Nobody beeps with a Biden, right? Yeah, Mr. Ho ended up in jail. He wants his $1 million back. Come on, he got a much better deal when he was bribing the presidents of a couple of beep-hole countries, Chad and Uganda. Bribing the Biden family was a point of pride. And he got nothing. He got nothing in return, so he wants his $1 million back. Thank you very much. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Let's take a phone call, Michael. We have border issues to get to, and we have many other issues to get to. I have pages of news stories in front of me. Let's go to Ed, calling from Charleston, South Carolina. Ed, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, it's very interesting that the Maduro president of Venezuela has left out all of the prisoners from his prisons, and he says he will. If we try to report them and take them. Have him taken back. He will not do that. He will not take any of his prisoners back.
Right.
He says, "What do you think? You think I'm a nut? I mean, why in the world would I take prisoners back?"
I emptied my prisons and insane asylums and dumped them on you, just like the Castros did in 1980.
Right.
And now we have this Venezuelan crime wave. Now, President Trump is promising mass deportations if he wins. And I think that Nicolas Maduro would get a serious wake-up call if President Trump were in the White House.
Well, I have a few suggestions as to where we could send these prisoners. Mayorkas, that our wonderful Secretary of Homeland Security, who says that the border is closed and nobody dangerous is coming over. He probably has a mansion someplace where he could house some of 100 of these wonderful criminals. And I don't know if he has any, children, if he has any young daughters. If he does, that would be a problem. he would have to secure them. But and that's why I would not have them go to Hunter Biden's house, because I don't want to put Navy in any danger.
Yeah, a lot of day. Well, I tell you, Joe Biden gave amnesty to hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans that came here. How many of those were convicts released from the prisons? We don't know, and we have a news media that doesn't care. We have the border for you, and we got Debbie Dingle. I can't get enough of Debbie Dingle, and Mayorkas. Mayorkas is not a good man, not a good public servant, not a good employee of the taxpayers. He should probably be gassed, not gassed, but maybe impeached. Just to have him impeached might be a better thing. But we got all kinds of good stuff. And Nikki Haley, a little bit of Nikki Haley, too. What she's still doing, nobody knows. But let's go to the phones. Let's go to Donna, calling from Frederick, Maryland. Donna, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Well, good morning, Chris. I'm enjoying your show as always. I think my name, it was formerly Deplorable Donna. I guess I'm now Neanderthal Donna.
Yeah, and, that was Biden last week. All us Neanderthals. That's he's Mr. Unifier. Is bringing us together.
Yes, and now he's bringing newcomers, which I'm calling new scummers, which are likely sleepers, by the way. And that's what I wanted to ask you about. I was looking at some of what's going on with Gaza, and there are thousands of underground tunnels, and I can't help but wonder if perhaps some of the same seedy stuff is going on here along our border with all of these Mohammeds and friends coming over here that have no loyalty to this country. And I just wanted to hear your insights about this. You know, like Patricia, who was an excellent contributor to the show today, I'm trying to get ahead of this a little bit myself, and I'd love to hear your opinions about what you think is actually taking place.
Well, the United States is the target of radical Islamists, of Mexican drug cartels, of Colombian drug cartels, of communist China. We're seeing tens of thousands of military-aged male Chinese coming illegally into the United States of America. The Biden administration is distributing them, dispersing them around the country. These tens of thousands of Chinese men don't leave China just on their own. It's communist China. You know, they're not a bunch of rich people who are making their way to Mexico and then crossing the U.S. border because they're, looking to open dumpling shops. These are people that are likely, at least a great many of them, coming with the approval of the Chinese communist regime, right? So that is definitely something to be concerned about. We've heard that the news media ignores it, but we've heard that a greater number of people on the terror watch list have crossed under Joe Biden than probably in the entire history of the country before Joe Biden came in. A great many people, Muslim, Islamists, people on the terror watch list coming illegally into the country. And those are the ones we know about. There are millions of gotaways that Customs and Border Protection doesn't know anything about because they get away, right? So we don't know who they are or where they're coming from or anything of the kind. But this is, Donna, clearly you're talking about sleeper cells and tunnels.
Yes.
Tunnels have been discovered going beneath our southern border with Mexico many times in the past. That we've found that some of these organizations using mini-subs, using submarines to smuggle people and drugs in from Mexico along generally the Pacific coast, north of the border, San Diego and points north, smuggling things in. The Democrats, that's the left. I mean, this is the international left. Barack Obama's not on our side. Joe Biden is not on our side. These people are not rah-rah, flag-waving Americans. They believe that America needs to be taken down notches. And if we were blown up by illegals or see massacres with guns by illegals, and we've already seen enough murders all over the place, young women and sexual assaults and rapes in Virginia. We arrested this Brazilian guy, Customs and Border Protection did, in New Hampshire, who was convicted of murdering 11 people in Brazil. He escaped from prison, found his way into the United States. The guy that murdered the woman in Pennsylvania a few months ago and was on the run for a week or 2 weeks, the manhunt going on. He was an illegal alien from Brazil also, who had also been convicted of murder in Brazil. And our open borders, honestly, these gangs out of Venezuela that are well known now in New York and in Chicago, all of this is because of Joe Biden and Democrat Party policies. There's just no doubt about that. And Laken Riley, whose funeral was on Friday, and it was not in the Washington Post on Saturday. They didn't mention it because they don't care that lovely young 22-year-old, beautiful family, nice young woman, nursing school, wanted to dedicate her life to helping people, was murdered and had her head smashed until it wasn't shaped like a head anymore by an illegal alien from Venezuela, by the way, whose brother is in court today because his brother has been arrested. Another illegal alien from Venezuela has been arrested again and again, but not deported because of Joe Biden and the Democrats. The brother is in court today for having an illegal green card. And this is the Democrat Party's plan for the United States of America. More crime, more mayhem, more gangs, more drug deaths, more terrorism, more bad things. And, Donna, it's an election year, and millions of Democrats are going to go out and vote for more of this. That's the truly remarkable thing.
Oh, yeah. How do you define insanity? They do the same thing over and over again. The problem with it this time, though, is who's stopping them? I mean, it's very limited. You know, we know Texas with the governor there.
Right.
And I know a lot of the Border Patrol are trying to do it. Where are the other governors in the other states? And let's face it, we're all in border states now because all of these illegals are distributed throughout the whole country. And by the way, a family member of mine pointed out when they went out of the country and came back in, they were treated like second-class citizens returning while all the illegals were coming in scot-free. You know, it just gets worse by the day, and it's just astounding that we've even made it this far while we've openly allowed invaders to come in our country.
Yes, we do. And it's because of Joe Biden and the Democrat Party, and it's because they're not on our side. And Donna, you know, I've been saying for years, they are not on our side.
Correct. And you know, Chris, you are way ahead on this. Years before the rest of us were awakened. And I think now maybe Democrats, some of those voters might have a slight clue as to what's going on. And I pray to God that they come to their senses, unlike what happened in D.C., where they voted for neocon Nikki Haley. I mean, you know, people, they've got to get real. I don't think they believe it'll actually happen, but they're trying to incite a civil war in America right now. And it's like people are sitting on their hands.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very dangerous time in the United States of America and in the world. And it's because the left, the real left, you know, with pretty face, Barack Obama have taken over the Democrat Party, one of our two major political parties, and they are here to destroy America as we have known it, because they have contempt for you, Donna. They have contempt for me. Barack Obama is a racist, and he's anti-American, and it's all this critical race theory and all the other, DEI and all this, and the racial division, the class warfare. This is the left, the real left. They're commies. And again, the Democrat Socialist of America, which is a big organization in the Democrat Party. It's not just Bernie Sanders. They're squad members, and they put radicals in Congress, and they're here to do damage. They're not here to help us, and they're pro-Hamas. And even Bernie Sanders, who's Jewish, is an anti-Semite and anti-Zionist, anti-Israel. It's amazing, amazing stuff. Donna, we're in.
It is amazing.
We're in treacherous times. There is no doubt about it.
Yes, we are. And I think a lot of these people were selected, not elected. And that's a bigger problem, too. If we don't figure out this election debacle, it's got to be remedied today, now, ASAP. Or we're not going to have a country left.
Well, that's the goal of the Democrat Party. And you know that, Hillary Clinton said there's only the fight. She's a Saul Alinskyite who is a communist agitator. She almost became president of the United States. President Trump stopped that from happening. The left burned down city after city. My best girl and I were down in Pennsylvania Avenue for the inaugural parade. President Trump with the burning limousine behind us and the storefronts being smashed out and attacked by the violent mobs of Democrat criminals, none of whom were jailed because Democrats. All right, let's go to Donna. Thank you for the call. And since you mentioned it, Raul Ortiz was the head of Customs and Border Protection, and he was on the television. He was on the television yesterday. And let's go to Raul Ortiz, because he is the guy. Now, keep in mind that Kamala Harris is the border czar, and she's done absolutely nothing but pay no attention to that. Former Border Patrol chief Raul Ortiz, turns out, never had a conversation with the President of the United States, never had a conversation with the Vice President of the United States.
I've never had one conversation with the President or the Vice President, for that matter. And so I was the chief of the Border Patrol. I commanded 21,000 people. That's a problem.
Yeah, he was amazingly, perhaps, on 60 Minutes last night, Raul Ortiz. And I can only imagine what was left on the cutting room floor by 60 Minutes, but former Border Patrol chief reveals no communication whatsoever with Joe Biden or with our border czarina, Kamala Harris, because their plan is to overrun the country, to make it unrecognizable. The fundamental transformation of America that Barack Obama threatened us with, and it's being carried out now under Lunch Bucket Joe. And he also told us we better learn to speak Spanish because they had a plan for us. Let's go to number 11, Congressman Chip Roy, who knows what's going on, Texas, and, summing up the Biden administration this way.
Look, the current president of the United States is carrying out a lawless regime. They're doing it on all the issues you just talked about, whether it's border or whether it's ignoring the student loans in the Supreme Court. He said it. He's doing it defiantly.
Doing it defiantly, and he bragged about it. So the Supreme Court said I couldn't do it, but I did it anyway, buying votes by paying off like $100 and something billion in student loans that their crooked academic friends overcharged poor innocent young people for their unsuccessful education, their indoctrination. Absolutely amazing. Now let's go to number 9, Alejandro Mayorkas. Alejandro Mayorkas talking about the illegal alien from Venezuela, who we don't know because the government's not looking into it, our news media is not looking into it, is the murderer of Laken Riley, a gang member from Venezuela that was let out of prison by the communist dictator there. They call themselves socialists, of course. They call themselves socialists in the United States, too. Alejandro Mayorkas yesterday.
We firmly believe that if a city is aware of an individual who poses a threat to public safety, then we would request that they provide us with that information. Different cities have different levels of cooperation. We were not notified in this instance.
Yeah, well, because you got a sanctuary city run by Democrats who are protecting criminals and gang members that were released from prisons in Venezuela. And there's the old Joseph Stalin line and the New York Times line, Walter Duranty. You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And there are a lot of eggs being broken, but I don't see any omelet just yet. Just amazing. Speaking of Mayorkas, Saturday Night Live had a sketch last night mocking Mayorkas. I think it was their cold open. And it sounded like this.
We are now joined live by Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas.
Thanks for having me, Dana. Man, I am exhausted. I was with Joe Biden for the past weekend, and phew, he wiped me out.
Okay, so you feel he's up to the job?
Dana, I was just with him, and behind closed doors, he's a dynamo. This weekend, we both went down to the border town of Brownsville, Texas, and Joe went into beast mode. He said, "We gotta tighten this border. Look how easy I can cross it." Then he parkoured up to the top of the border wall. He front flipped into the Rio Grande and came back up with a fish in his mouth. But you didn't report that because it doesn't fit your little narrative.
Well, with all due respect, it doesn't fit reality.
Not that CNN would actually correct him on that because they wouldn't, but then Alejandro Mayorkas yesterday, that was Saturday Night Live, night before last, then yesterday, Mayorkas actually went on CNN. That was supposed to be mock CNN, mock Dana Bash. And Dana Bash asked him about the Saturday Night Live skit, which wasn't particularly funny.
Obviously, this is art, but they do this because they try to make a point that there is a discussion in the zeitgeist. There is a reason that they did a whole thing about Joe Biden's age. Do you want to have a real statement about it, about what you witness?
They should spend a bit of time with Joe Biden, like I have done. Let me share.
He's actually doing the Saturday Night Live lie.
A lot for meetings with him and engagements with him because he's remarkably detail-oriented, probing, and operationally focused.
Okay. But no fishing in the Rio Grande.
Not for me.
I certainly hope I'll be invited to your Christmas party this year, Mr. Secretary. Oh, yes, he's so bright. The Saturday Night Live mock, it was really so close to truth. Mayorkas says, this is like North Korea. And I told you about the Washington Post piece over the weekend going on and on about how bright he is behind closed doors, never mind cursing everybody out and using filthy language and everything. Absolutely amazing. Saturday Night Live, CNN, what's the difference? CNN is actually funnier, unintentionally, but is Saturday Night Live intentionally trying to be funny? Are they? I've got lunatic Keith Olbermann update for you. He's weighed in on the Supreme Court decision today. You'll never guess.
Instead of worrying about whether immigrants can learn English, they'll learn English. You need to make sure your child can speak Spanish.
Now, Keith Olbermann, who is certifiably insane, severely mentally ill, and was an NBC News anchor for 8 years on MSDNC with his Hate Fest show. He has an X account, Elon Musk. I'm sure he hates Elon Musk. Michael and I were talking about this morning. I've been paying attention for a long time. I've never seen so much hate in the United States of America before, and it is 100%, at least 98% on the Democrat Party and the media. But Keith Olbermann today, on his X account, he should be banned. He should be barred from all social media. He said, "The Supreme Court has betrayed democracy. Its members, including Jackson, Kagan, and Sotomayor, have proved themselves inept at reading comprehension. And collectively, the quote-unquote court has shown itself to be corrupt and illegitimate. It must be dissolved." The Supreme, now, there's one ruling, and it's a unanimous verdict in the Supreme Court, where you got your three communists, and obviously, Keith, you're a racist and a misogynist. Jackson, Kagan, and Sotomayor agree with me. And Keith, you need help. You need a lot of help, mental help. There are a lot of Democrats in New York. Dissolve the court, because dissolve the police, defund the police, dissolve the court, pack the Senate, pack the court. These are anti-American voices, and they're very prominent anti-American voices, and have been for a long time. Fox News on Friday: woman's severed head found near New York Park during search after man's dismembered body parts discovered. Police are looking for Democrats involved in this one. Suffolk County Police said a girl spotted the initial body parts along the road, Southlands Pond in Babylon. And then they found a man's, they found arms and legs. Then they kept looking and they found a woman's head. The Democrats really need to take a pill, don't they?